Good morning, scholars. Today we're going to continue our way through Book 1 of Herodotus, looking at Chapter 16. This provides an overview of the reigns of Ardys, Sadyattes, and Alyattes. These are the three kings between Gyges and Croesus. So we're exploring the Nadai dynasty. Remember, in the larger context, this dynasty has succeeded the Heraclidae, the sons of Heracles, the dynasty of Heracles, and they are going to lose this reign after 5 generations. So Croesus will be the last Nadai king, and so this is setting up the account of the 3 kings between Gyges and Croesus, which is going to run for about 9 chapters. Okay. So, Ardys de Basileusantos, Henos de onta, Penteconta etea, Exadexato Sadyattes, ho Arduos, kai Basileuse etea duodeca, Saduateo de Alyattes, Hutos de ku axare te toi de iokeo apogonoi epolemese kai medoise kemerius te ectes asias excelese Smyrnen te ten apokoloponos te san hele es klas domenas te esebale apomenun tuton uk hos etele apelaxe ala pros taisas megalos ala de erga apedexato eon in te arche axia begetotata tade. Okay, so Ardys de Basileusantos, Henos de onta, Penteconta etea, Exadexato Sadyattes, ho Arduos, kai Basileuse etea duodeca, Saduateo de Alyattes. So deo is to lack or be short. So henos de onta penteconta etea is Herodotus' way of expressing 49 years, 1 year short of 50, because the de onta takes a genitive of the henos, 1. And then exadexato is our first aorist, third singular of ekdegomai, here used absolutely to succeed to the throne. So he tells us first that after Ardys had ruled for 49 years, his son Sadyattes became king and ruled for 12 years. And then after Sadyattes, his son Alyattes succeeded to the throne. So we have to supply exadexato in the last clause as well. Saduateo de Alyattes, exadexato. So Ardys de Basileusantos, Henos de onta, Penteconta etea, Exadexato, Sadyattes, ho Arduos, kai base leuse etea du odeca, Sadyattes de Alyattes. Hutos de ku axare de to de iogeo abogonoi polemese kai medoise chimerius te ek des asias exelase smyrnein te ten apokoloponos distensan hele es klasdomenas te esebale apomenun tuton uk hos etele apelaxe ala pros daisas megalos ala de erga apedexato eon in te arche axia pege totata dade. So, ex elauno, we have here ex elase, our first aorist, to expel, to drive out. Tisdo, we have here tis desan, the aorist passive, first aorist passive, to found or establish a city. Apalago is to get off, to fare. So, uk hos etele apelaxe, he did not get off as he wished. Al prospaio is to meet with disaster, actually to dislocate one's knee or something, but he met with disaster. And finally, axiapegetos is worthy of recounting. So here we have the superlative form, axiapegetotata. So Herodotus will ultimately make his way through these three in-between kings, the kings between Gyges and Croesus. And ultimately, when we get around to Croesus facing off against the Persians, he will then actually finally recount this campaign that just gets referred to here as being against the Medes and the Chimerios and Smyrnae and Klasdomenas. And we'll see how all of this is organized by these four tes. We'll talk about that at the end here. So, here we go. So we see Hutos de ku azdaret de, and then Chimerios te, and then Smyrnae te, and Klasdomenas te. So Deniston discusses this fourfold repetition of te at page 503 to 505, and he says, speaking of co-responsive te, he says, this combination, though rarer in prose than in verse, is yet far commoner in prose than single te. So prose prefers these co-responsive series of tes. And so Deniston goes on to say, te, sometimes two or more tes, meaning and, follow the first te. Note, Xenophon uses triple and quadruple te more frequently than the other historians. Multiplication of te is rare in Plato. But if we look at this sentence and see how the four tes are working, we see that they all precede the object and then are followed by the verb. So I have marked the objects in yellow and the verbs in this light blue. So, ku axare te pole mese, and then kimerios te exelase, and smyrnein te ele, and then finally, es klasdomenas te ese bale. So this is actually quite elegant, the way these four tes work to describe the four campaigns that are associated with the rain. Okay, so Ardys de Basileus Santos, Henos de Onta, Penteconta Etia, Exadexato Sadyattes, Ho Ardys, Kai e Basileuse Etia Duodeca, Sa duateo de Alyattes, and Hutos de, this Alyattes, ku axare te toi de iokleo apogonoi epolemese kai medoise, kimerios te ek des asias exelase, smyrnen te ten apokoloponos dis desan hele, es klasdomenas te ese bale. Apo men nun tuton, uk hos e dele apelaxe, ala prostaisas megalos, ala de erga apedexato eon in te arche axia pegeto tata dade. So like I say, it will be a long time before Herodotus actually gets to detail the achievements of Alyattes, but nevertheless, we will get there slowly but surely in the Herodotean way. Okay, so just to give you a quick geography lesson here, these Kimerioi who Alyattes will drive out, they are this southern Russian tribe, well, what we call Russia now, this southern tribe that when pressed by the Scythians moved out both to the west into, way above north Greece, what we call the Balkans now, and then they moved to the east around the Black Sea and down into what we now call Turkey. And so this is the general migration that we will see was dealt with by Alyattes when it threatened the kingdom of Lydia. And this fuller map is pretty cool. We see here, this is the Scythians, because it's the Scythians who provide the pressure by their migrations to the Kimerioi, who then move, as the previous slide showed, east and west and downward. So note, there we have it. Okay. So this last bit is a piece of wall art where the Kimerioi represent themselves. You can imagine they are horsemen. They are adept with the bow, so they would have swept down into Lydia with quite some great fearsomeness. Remember that when Herodotus first mentioned them, he says he does not count them as really having subjugated the Greeks, because all they did was really make raids. and thus he gave that first prize of having actually subjugated Greeks, some on the one hand, and being friendly with others, i.e. the Spartans. He gives that to Croesus. And again, this is where we're headed. Okay, so have a good day, and I look forward to reaching out to you soon. Again, please consider joining us as a patron on Patreon so that you can continue with this full march through the story of Croesus. Okay, bye-bye.